Am I the asshole for making my parents kick my nephew out of their will? I, 47F, have always had a very strained relationship with my brother, 51M. He's had a very bad accident when he was 17 and spent 3 months in a coma. Ever since he's been the child my parents swooned over and they make excuses for everything he does. I've been to therapy because of this for over a decade as I resented him for my parents forgetting about me when I was younger, even though I love my parents to death. My nephew, 31M, has basically been raised by my parents as well. His mom passed away during childbirth and my brother lived with our parents till about 4 years ago when he moved in with his girlfriend. Because my brother is handicapped and doesn't have big motor skills, a lot of the childcare was taken care of by my parents over the years. Till my nephew moved out of state 5 years ago for his job. A couple of weeks ago, my parents were meeting with their lawyer to set up their will, as they're both no longer in the best of health and want to make sure we're taken care of. The only big thing they have is their house and car. They were talking about that they want to split the inheritance 3 ways, and I got confused and asked them why 3 ways considering it's only me and my brother. They said they wanted my nephew in there as well, as they basically raised him since birth and consider him largely as their child too. I told them that's not fair as I have 2 kids as well and if my nephew is in the will, they should as well. My brother said that what they're doing with their money is their business and I should stay out of it, but I disagreed. Eventually my parents agreed and didn't give my nephew his share. My brother called it a giant dick move and called me petty to punish my nephew for the resentment I have towards him. We broke out into a fight that my parents had to unfortunately break up. My nephew called me a couple of days ago to check in on my youngest as he's her godfather. He had already heard what happened and just said that it was a bit of Karen move to do, but he's unbothered by it as it's none of his business. But my brother is still very upset with me and my parents are rather cold to me as well. Am I the asshole here? Edit. I did not expect this to blow up as it did. Thank you everyone for the sometimes harsh but honest comments. With this is just want to clarify some things. My nephew is godfather of my youngest, she is 7, my eldest is 10. He is also the only one in the family around his age. All my cousins are around my age and then there are the small kids. He and I have a good relationship. He's always been a very hard worker and studied hard to be where he is now and I can't be more proud of him what he's been able to accomplish with the limited resources he has. My parents absolutely adore my kids as well, and babysit after when me and my husband need help or are busy with work. My parents are in a care home and want none of us to take care of them. They made sure that no one had to. And even when my nephew was living with them, he did errands for them like running to shops, groceries, making appointments for them when need be. Just because he moved out of state he cannot do that anymore. We also did it together as many mentioned that my brother wasn't able to do this. It is true that they see my nephew more as a son than a grandson. Edit 2. To answer a bit more questions I've received. Me and my husband have been together for near 20 years. He has his own construction business and I am a head teacher. I also think the reason why my parents want to take him in the will is because of all the medical expenses my brother had with the accident and the continues after care. He's have virtually nothing left of his share of the inheritance. I think that's what my parents try to avoid by putting my nephew in the will, though I am not fully sure. Your parents are cold to you for being factual? They have 3 grandkids so if they want to give to their grandkid they should also give it to the other 2. Fair is fair. Do they even know or address the fact that they caused you being in therapy because of them? Like sure your brother needed more support but they ignored you. In the end it is their money but they should be fair in my country it doesn't even matter what is written in the will you get % of the inheritance. Unpopular opinion here, but you are the asshole. My family has exactly this situation. My grandparents brought up my cousin from birth, and when they died, their will was primarily split 3 ways between my parent, their sibling, and my cousin. The remaining cousins all got something, but nothing substantial, and we never expected it to be any other way. To all intents and purposes, my cousin was their 3rd child. He was there permanently, he ran errands and did chores for them in his childhood and then looked after them in their old age way more than the rest of us. He deserved an equal share. It's weird to me that you made someone you hate so much your child's godfather. You are the asshole. It's a bit shitty to stick your nose in their business to be honest. You're not entitled to that money. Honestly, inheritances bring out the worst in people. You are the asshole. It's their money to decide. Sounds pushy and greedy. Am I the asshole if I refuse to take in my brother even if it wouldn't be forever? Hello everybody, I'm looking for some honest opinions from strangers. I don't have anybody who I could ask that would give me an objective answer, so I've come here. Edit because I didn't proofread before posting. I'm a 24-year-old guy. My father also had to quit his job because of the diagnosis. His wife still works though and money is not an issue. His health insurance cover almost everything anyway. My siblings actually all are the kids of my father and his wife, I only have a different mom. My father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He will begin chemotherapy soon and will need a lot of assistance. I have offered to drive him to appointments and go shopping for him and his wife, which they gladly accepted. This morning after I dropped off their groceries they took me aside and asked if I could take in my half-brother, 14, until the end of the summer holidays, which would be until the 6th of August, so a whole month at least. I told them I would think about it and see if it would be possible. In truth, I don't want to take him in. I would be fine with him coming over for a day every few weeks, but I don't feel comfortable having a teenager living with me 24/7. Because of his age I also don't feel a real connection with him as I do with my other half-brother, 26, or sister, 19. My brother is unable to take him because he not only lives in a different state but is also living on base and sharing with other members of the army. He will be finished soon, but it's still going to be about 3 months. My sister is not an option either since she is now in her second semester at university and living with 3 roommates. Her exam phase is also starting in the next weeks, so she'll need time alone to study and focus. I guess I'm the logical solution since I'm living nearest to them and have my own flat, but I also work full-time. A lot of the time I work night shifts and sleep during the day, so he would be left to his own probably more than if he just stayed home. I don't know how to tell my father that I don't want him to live with me though. I'm already helping as much as I can, so I don't really see why I should be the one to uproot my life now too. One reason I might feel that way could also be spite. Growing up my stepmom made it clear to me that I wasn't a part of their family and would never be a son to her. I hate to say it, but maybe I still hold it against her in some way even if we're now friendly with each other. So Reddit, am I the asshole if I told them they'd have to find a different solution for my brother? For the sake of being completely honest, I'd like to add that I could talk to my boss about working days instead of nights, but I don't like working days since I'm more of a night person. If I were to take my brother in, my stepmom would also take over shopping and appointments, so I wouldn't have to do that anymore. It's just that I'd rather go shopping once a week than share my place with another person. My brother does spend time with my father every day, but they want to keep him from seeing the bad moments. I don't live far away from them, only about 20 minutes. They would want my brother to be able to come over when my father is feeling well enough, but they don't want him to be there when he is feeling bad. Not the asshole. It doesn't sound inconvenient. It sounds like it just won't work from a logical perspective. Not judging because I don't know if there is enough info for that, but look at it this way. Pancreatic cancer is serious and fast. It may be less about helping them out, but protecting your brother from having to see what your father is going through. Prognosis for pancreatic cancer is usually pretty bad and it is usually pretty fast. They may just want to keep him from watching his father quickly get worse and die. Not the asshole. Don't do your stepmom any favors. Plenty of families go through cancer with the kids in their own homes. This seems very odd. Nah, but honestly, I would do it. It's not forever and it would be a good chance to get to know him. He's going through this too, and could use some support. I hope your dad does well with his treatment. Not the asshole. It won't be a month. You'll be stuck with him once school starts. Am I the asshole for not allowing a woman to pick up her daughter's birthday cake after she was late? Some minor details changed for privacy reasons. I, 22M, work in a bakery. About a month ago, a woman called and ordered a custom cake for her daughter's birthday. The pickup was scheduled for yesterday at 4:30 p.m. For reference, we close at 5 p.m. However, the woman never showed up, so we just put the cake in the freezer and marked it down as a no-show. The owner of the store, who's also my manager, has a policy that absolutely no customers are allowed in the store after 5 p.m. This might seem obvious, but you guys wouldn't believe how many people try to wheedle their way in after closing to buy one last item. This rule is also in place because if we let more people into the store after closing, we have to re-clean places where the customer was. Because of this, the second the clock hits 5 we lock up and start cleaning. I was on the closing shift yesterday and I tend to be a fast worker, so I managed to clean everything up quickly and was out the door by 5:20. Just as I was about to get into my car, This woman comes running up and asks if we're still open because she needs to pick up a cake for her daughter. My first thought was that this was the no-show from earlier. I asked if she was supposed to pick up her cake at 4:30 and she said yes, but she got held up at work and then got caught in traffic, so she wasn't able to get to the bakery on time. She then asked if I could open up the store for her to pick up the cake since her daughter's birthday party was later that evening. I apologized and said I couldn't open the store back up for any reason, but she could come back tomorrow and get it. She was not happy. She started getting super upset and said that it wasn't a big deal and it would only take a few minutes. I said it was my manager's policy, not mine, and I couldn't let her back in. She asked if I was really going to ruin a child's birthday because of some arbitrary rule, and that nobody had to know. I apologized again but said I wasn't going to risk my job for her. I didn't know what else to say, so I just pulled my door closed and left her in the parking lot. I later saw that the woman wrote an online review of the bakery calling us heartless and inconsiderate and that her daughter was so sad without her cake. She said she was never going back to the bakery because we ruined her daughter's big day and that we clearly don't care about going above and beyond for customers. I've spoken to my manager about this incident and she agrees I was in the right. Even still, some of my coworkers have talked to me about it and said that while I was in the right policy-wise, I was morally in the wrong because a child's happiness was more important than my job and I just made that mother's life harder than it needed to be. I'd just like to get an unbiased opinion here. ETA. There are security cameras in the store, so they would have caught us going in. ETA 2. Some people are asking if only I could have gone in and gotten the cake while she waited outside. The woman would have needed to sign for the cake at the register, which would require her going in. Not the greatest rule, but you're 10% not the asshole for following it. Not the asshole. If she knew she was running late, she could have called and given a heads up to ask if you could just meet her outside with the cake or something. Not the asshole, she should have at least called if she was running late. If she called at all before 5, you may have been able to either check with upper management about letting her in or informing her that she'd be unable to get the cake. 80% of store robberies occur after the store is closed by people who wheedle their way into the store or who stay late. You did the right thing. Never let them determine policy, especially where safety is concerned. Not the asshole. Your coworkers can risk their jobs if they want, but you were 100% right. Am I the asshole for not wanting to talk to my sister about mental health? I, 26F, have been mostly living independently since the age of 18. However, during COVID I temporarily moved back in with my parents and my sister, 16F. I've since moved back out. My sister was upset that I moved back home and basically treated me like shit the whole time. She would constantly leave a mess everywhere and demand that I clean it. She would go into my bedroom and steal my belongings anytime I wasn't there, and not even just when I wasn't home. She would even go in there while I was in the shower or taking out the garbage or something. She would criticize absolutely everything I did. Just overall being very disrespectful towards my space, belongings, and me as a person, and it was all completely intentional. I know this because I said to her once, "It's almost as if you're trying to make my life miserable so that I'll leave," and she said, "I am." So I'm not exaggerating here. My parents did absolutely nothing about it except tell me it was a phase and she'd get over it. I got several different locks for my bedroom door and furniture and my sister picked all of them, so that didn't make a difference either. As ridiculous as it sounds for a teenager's behavior to affect me this much, it really started to get to me after a while. During what was already a period of uncertainty for everyone, I also had to deal with knowing that any time I wasn't in my bedroom, my space would be invaded. It got to a point where I would have anxiety attacks at the thought of leaving my room because of that loss of control associated with it. I stopped applying for jobs because I knew that if I went to work my sister would do who knows what to my space. It's one of the reasons, although definitely not the only one, I decided to move back out despite not really being able to afford it. I just couldn't handle being around my sister anymore. Fast forward to now and according to my parents, my sister has gone off the rails. She's been refusing to go to school for months and is failing all her classes. She's staying out until like 3 a.m. every night and coming home under the influence of something. Neither my parents nor I know enough about drugs to know what it is and she won't say, and in general is clearly going through something. The stealing has also continued. Every time I go visit my parents she takes something from my bag, usually money. My mom called me the other day and asked me to have a mental health discussion with my sister, seeing as I had issues when I was younger as well, albeit totally different ones, and she thought maybe I could help. I said no before she even finished her sentence. She asked why and I basically told her, because my mental health suffered for over a year because of her and you did nothing about it. And only now that her behavior affects you do you want my help? No. Take her to a psychiatrist like you should have done a year ago. My mom is mad at me now and thinks I'm being selfish. Am I the asshole? And #X200B. Not the asshole. She needs to talk to a professional, it is not your job to fix her. You need to preserve your mental health. Not the asshole. Take care of yourself. Not the asshole. You are not a mental health professional and that's what your sister needs. Even if you were one I doubt she'd want to listen to you anyway. Just out of spite. The continuous picking of the locks is absolutely insane. I applaud you for not doing anything stupid in retaliation, because I know I wouldn't have been that strong. I don't blame you at all for not wanting to help her. I don't see how your mother can't see that helping someone who hurt you is never going to work. Maybe she doesn't know the extent to which your sister's actions made you anguished. And if she does, then she's just desperate for free help. I am sorry either way. I hope you get the help you need and for everyone's sake I hope your sister does too, but it's not your responsibility. Don't forget that. You did and said precisely the right thing. Not the asshole and I'm surprised you keep contact.